can help our students be more successful and stay on track in our classes is by keeping an eye on their engagement and performance in our classes. And today we're going to look at some tools in Canvas that will help us see which students are engaged and which students might need a little extra contact and encouragement to get them right back on track if they've been lagging in their participation. So for this one, in order to access my analytics, I just go to where it says View Course Analytics. And then once I click on that, I can see some information about what's going on in my class. Of course, I haven't actually graded anything yet, but I can see in my class I set up just for this demonstration, a lot of missing assignments and a few that were turned in on time. I can scroll down and see a little more information about my students. This might be especially useful for you as we head into the end of the first week of a quarter, because you can look at your student engagement and figure out who hasn't engaged in the course or who hasn't participated so that you can drop those students during the first week. But throughout the course, it's really important because it's one way you can keep track of how your students are doing. Again, these are all fictional students and this is a fictional course, so most of them haven't done much of anything. Now, if you want to go a little deeper, you can select an individual student and then you can see some information about that student. You can see how their grades are and you can see what they have submitted and what they have not submitted. You can also see their current total and you can look at page views or participants. The student's only done one assignment and apparently that assignment has been graded. You can also view all of this information in more of a chart or graph format. All in all, what's most important is looking at your students individually so that you can see how they're doing. And then another place you can look for that is in the access report. So if you click on the access report, that'll show you when they accessed it, how many times they viewed it, and also whether they participated. Of course, you can use your grades for this as well. And you can set up messages to go to students based on their grades on an assignment. So for example, if I have discussion 2 and I want to set a message to go out automatically to a certain group of students, I could message all the students who have not yet submitted, who scored more than a certain amount or less than a certain amount. Or if I'm reassigning it to my students, and then you would just write your message, submit the message, and click send, and your students who fit that criterion would receive the message. You can set these up in advance. You don't have to wait until the assignment has even been turned in. If you wanted to set them all up before the quarter began, you could do that. So now let's look at new analytics. I have set up new analytics in this course, and everyone has access to new analytics. So let's take a look at what that looks like. If I want to look at individual students again, I can see the same sort of information, just organized a little differently. I have downloadable data if I wanted to download this for some reason into an Excel spreadsheet. And then there are various reports that I could run as well. For example, if I wanted to run a report on course activity, and then I would receive that report, which I could view. You can see how many times each student viewed or participated in each of your course assignments, pages, etc. You could also run a report and filter the report. I can also view online activity by student and see each student's online activity. So that's just a little additional information you can get. Even if you're using new analytics, you could also use grades, or you could look at the students in your class and access their information that way. So if I look at the list of students in my class, I can see, for example, that these 2 students have not done any work in the class. This student has only logged in for 2 minutes, and this one's only logged in for 2 minutes also. And so if this were a real class, I might want to contact them and say that I noticed that they haven't been very engaged in the course. If you're interested in setting up your course to use new analytics, here's how you would do it. You would go into your settings, and then you would go to feature options, and you could just click on new course and user analytics and enable it. There are a few other things that you can also enable here. Another is new quizzes, and we'll save new quizzes for some future date. Any of these tools can be used just to get a handle on how your students are doing in your class. And then you can make sure that you contact your students about their progress and check in with them to see what you can do to help them be more successful. Setting up those automatic emails related to specific assignments can really help with that too. And I would recommend that if you're a very busy person teaching several sections or several courses with a lot of students, that you think about setting those up at the beginning of the quarter or whenever you have a chance. That way you won't forget or run out of time when you're very busy. I hope this has been useful. Thank you.